Sinha sir, our respected chief guest, esteemed guest, Sri Jitendra Janardhan Prasad sir, Dean and Senior Professor WMT, Sri Vinay Banawal sir, Chief Workshop Manager Jamalpur, Sri Jitendra Kumar sir, CWE and CME, NHM, SCCR, Sri Abhishek Gautam sir, Director Wagon, RDSO, distinguished officers from the RDSO, Railway Board and Zonal Railways, dear faculty members and staff of IRIMEE, dear participants, good morning. It is my privilege to welcome you all to the two-day knowledge sharing workshop on wagon items being conducted on 15th and 16th of January 2026 at New Auditorium of IRIMEE. At the outset, I extend a warm and respectful welcome to our Honorable Director General IRIMEE, our chief guest for today's program. Sir, your gracious presence underscores IRIMEE's continuous emphasis on technical excellence, safety, capacity building in freight operations. As a mark of our respect and gratitude, I request Sri Janardhan Prasad sir, Dean and Senior Professor WMT IRIMEE, to kindly present a flower bouquet to Honorable Chief Guest. I also extend cordial welcome to our esteemed guests from Railway Board, RDSO, and the field units, and sincerely thanks our distinguished speakers for sparing their valuable time to share their rich experience and professional insights with us. Freight operations form the backbone of Indian Railways' financial sustainability. Wagons, their subsystem, and associate maintenance practices play a crucial role in ensuring safety, reliability, and efficiency of freight transportation. In a rapidly evolving operational environment with heavier axle loads, higher throughput expectations, and ambitious national logistic goals, it has become imperative that officers and supervisors remain fully updated with the latest developments, challenges, and corrective measures related to wagon items. This workshop, initiated by RDSO, has been thoughtfully structured to address key technical and operational areas, including bogies, airbag system, train examination, welding defects, train parting incidents, wheel and CTRV maintenance practices. The inclusion of question and answer session after each technical lecture reflects our emphasis on active participation and meaningful interaction. The workshop visit to Jamalpur workshop on day 2 will further reinforce classroom discussion through practical exposure, which is essential for translating knowledge into effective field applications. IRIMEE firmly believes that knowledge sharing is most effective when it is interactive, experience-based, and problem-oriented. I therefore encourage all the participants to actively engage in these sessions, share their valuable field experience, and derive maximum benefit from the program. I also request everyone to kindly keep their mobile phones on silent mode to ensure an uninterrupted. In keeping with the inauguration of any auspicious event is marked by lighting of ceremonial lamp, symbolizing the dispelling of darkness and the ushering of knowledge and wisdom. I therefore request our Honorable Director General IRIMEE, our respected chief guest, along with our esteemed guest, Sri Janardhan Prasad, Dean and Senior Professor WMT, Sri Vinay Banawal sir, Sri Jamalpur, Sri Jitendra Kumar sir, CW and CME, NHM, SCCR, Sri Abhishek Gautam sir, Director Wagon, to kindly come forward for the lighting of lamp. I once again extend a warm welcome to all present and request the honorable chief guest to kindly come on the stage and inaugurate the workshop by addressing the gathering.
Respected Senior Professor WFT, Shri Janardhan Prasad, Shri Nagpur, Shri Vinay Prasad, CWE, CCR, Mr. Tiken, and RDS student executive, Mr. Abhishek Gautam, and all fellow officers and participants of this knowledge sharing experience. First of all, I extend a warm welcome from IRIMEE, and it is indeed a great privilege to be a part of knowledge sharing. Knowledge is one thing which increases by sharing. Therefore, I practice sure that after this uh, session, every participant will definitely have some more knowledge. So far as the present topic is concerned, uh, before delving deep into it, uh, I will first draw an overall perspective of this thing. Uh, One of the problems with specialists and engineers is that we get too much involved in the finer details and the macroscopic evaluation and lose the overall perspective of it. So in technology, any research, it doesn't mean much to the organization or much to the nation or to the world unless it fits in the overall picture where it has to. Any innovation in isolation doesn't yield any result immediately. So, as far as this Wagon thing is concerned, uh, in fact, railways started with wagons. Not only in India, the precursor to railways was in the in Greece, I think roughly around 600 BC. There are two seas, one is Korean Sea and the second is the Saronic Gulf. The distance between these two through land, overland is only 4 kilometers. So, but in one ship, instead of crossing that Isthmus, it had to do the complete circumnavigation. It would have taken at least around 1,000 kilometers extra. So what they did was that it is a man-made tunnel. You can Google it and find out. They dig a man-made canal, and I think it is the deepest cross-sea canal. And there they basically laid notches, which is and they used to transport their boats or ships wherever such type of flat wagons as they used to. And this thing was not called railway, it was called backhouse. So that is the beginning. It lasted for around 400, 500 years, and gradually it died away. Still, till date, it holds the record of the deepest canal connecting two seas, somewhere around the pattern of the Suez Canal or Canal. Coming to the modern days, again, railways it started basically with the mines and collieries because they had to extract the product from the collieries. Therefore, they employed a steam engine, and again, the steam engine. Early steam engines were not efficient. Therefore, James Watt, I think around 1869, he patented the design for improvement in the efficiency of condenser. Unfortunately, we believe that James Watt invented steam engine. He is not that. James Watt he didn't invent steam engine at all. He was the inventor of an improved condenser, so the overall efficiency of the steam engine improved. And through it, they used to pull out your minerals, coals, and everything from the mandates. What you see, the buckets of some type of wagons, something like that. So this thing continued, and unfortunately, because this technology was patented by James Watt, so the progress of such a powerful technology was impeded. Uh, in fact, it was stopped. Only after the patent expired in 18th century, then so the James Watt thing was in 1715, and when the patent expired, then we see Richard Theodosic, he coming with the locomotive, and then the first wagons were hauled. Then we see James Watt, George Stephenson in 1925, he ran the first train. Again, that first train was not a passenger train, it was a mixed train, and passengers, they were sitting on the wagons. So everything in the technology which we hope the harbinger has in the your wagons. So that is the importance of wagon if we consider railway technology as such. And we come down to the perspective of your Indian Railways. It is well aware that around two-thirds of our earnings comes from wagons and around one-third from coaching and other sources. Here the challenge is that we are not a company, railway is not a company. Railway is a direct central government organization. We have some welfare duties. Therefore, traditionally freight has been cross-subsidizing the passenger fare. Therefore, passenger business we are losing, and in freight we are having net earning. But here the paradigm is that in passenger, you have to subsidize the fare, especially local trains, you have to roughly subsidize. Then within passenger segment, again we do the cross subsidization, that the lower classes and the classes we keep cheap, and higher classes we increase the fare. But here the upper cap is your aircraft fare, airfare. Upper class fare you can't increase. So again, here we are limited. So basically, what is that we started increasing the freight fare. I don't think that anyone is from the commercial department, but in freight you have the classification of goods. Again, the railway system is different. Like if you go to the market, if you have to transport something through truck, then he will charge per ton. के साथ ये जो है इसका 10 टन इसका उतना लेंगे 12 टन होगा इसका लेंगे. But railway is not like that. The base classification is 100. And for finished goods, like cosmetics, your MFCG items, it may be 120, 125. So actually you are charging around 25% higher. And for essential goods like fertilizers, food grains, the classification of the goods is maybe around 80. So again, you are giving 20% subsidization there. So what happened is that high value goods, it went away from railways. All the high value goods, like you see why coffee is not being transported through railways. In Jamalpur, you have one of the largest and one of the oldest factories of ITC. They are manufacturing cigarette. But even the raw material as well as the finished goods, we are not sending through railways. So around 40, 55 years back, they had a railway track which went right up to their factory. But because the cost of this cross subsidy keeps on increasing, then you are bound to lose traffic. So with this overall perspective, now we come to the role of the wagon, which is expected from us. Some of it might we be having a difference, some we might not. So the role of railway engineers who are associated with freight, design, maintenance, and operation is that we have to come up with a product which is energy efficient, which is cheaper. So this I mean, artificially high fare of the type of goods. This is still another thing that can be taken care of. And again, on the speed front, we have not increased. Wagon line, you have two parameters which are of utmost importance. One is the speed, and the second is the axle load. So in these two fronts, again, axle load, you are not on your own. You are limited by track. Even for speed, you are limited by track. So whatever you design, you have to go in connection with the civil engineering department. So you have a lot of constraints. It is not that you are free. You have a lot of constraints. You have track constraint. If you want to, like people have been talking about throughput, if you want to increase the, payload, if, then again for dimension you are bound by OHG. Like on the regular track, we have not been able to run double stack container. World has come up with triple stack container, but even for double stack container, we need high-rise belt to run such type of things. So it you have very constraints. You have to understand that, and these constraints you can't remove. Even if we plan to remove, then it will take some time before these constraints are removed. So within these constraints of your, axle load, speed potential, and many other things which are prevalent in this field, you have to keep in mind while designing and focusing on the future type of wagons or the improvements which will be brought in the wagons. But despite that, whatever important and quantum jump in the performance of Indian Railways has been there, it is attributed to wagons. हमारे जो सबसे पहले वैगन जो थे वो हमारे 4 व्हीलर थे और वो वुडन बॉडी के थे. उसके नेक्स्ट स्टेप पे हम आए तो वो हमारे 4 व्हीलर वैगन थे, स्टील के थे. थर्ड स्टेज पे हम आए तो हमारे 8 व्हीलर वैगन ही थे, लेकिन वो प्लेन बेरिंग स्टॉक थे. फिर फोर्थ स्टेज में जो है हम आए तो प्लेन बेरिंग को हम लोग रोलर बेरिंग कर दिया, जो कि आपके यूएससी वैगन होंगे. उसके बाद हमने फिर इम्प्रूव किया तो 8 व्हीलर ही रहा, एमएससी रहा. हमने अभी को जो है सीटीआरबी से रिप्लेस कर दिया. दिस हैपेंड समवेयर अराउंड 1982 ऑन 74. उसके बाद आप फिर फर्दर इम्प्रूवमेंट किए, उसमें आपने स्टेनलेस स्टील वैगन लगा दिए, एमएस को हटाकर अपनी स्टेनलेस स्टील लगा दिए. तो ये आपके वैगन जो अभी आपके चल रहे हैं, बॉक्सर वगैरह जो ये सब आपके चल रहे हैं. तो ये ओवरऑल जो आप इसमें इस इम्प्रूवमेंट में देखें कि एक तो आपने जो वैगन बॉडी का मटेरियल है उसको आपने चेंज कर दिया, और तीसरा जो है आपने बेरिंग में आपने काफी सुधार किया. और आप लोग वाकिफ नहीं होंगे, मतलब कैलिफोर्नियन में, मतलब मैंने 1991 से मैंने काम करना शुरू किया, 1992 में मैं डीएमई भी हो गया. तो मेरे समय में जो प्लेन बेरिंग स्टॉक चलते थे 4 व्हीलर, तो उनका एग्जामिनेशन हर 200 किलोमीटर पर होता था. एवरी 200 किलोमीटर दे यूज्ड टू बी ड्रॉप फॉर एग्जाम. तो उसमें जो ऑयल है उसके रोल होता था, उसको जो है फिर आप निकाल कर उसको अरेंज करके दोबारा लगाते थे. जो पीआरओ वगैरह जो आया है बेसिकली उसी से आया. इसको आरओ से कोई मतलब नहीं आ रहा था कि आप लोग इसको आरओ समझते हैं, क्योंकि वो पीओएच होता था, उसका रिपैकिंग होता था और वो जो है ऑयलिंग होता था. तो आरओ नहीं है, लेकिन अभी भी हम लोग पीआरओ बोले जा रहे हैं. तो आप समझ लीजिए तो यहाँ पे देखिए 50 टाइम्स इम्प्रूवमेंट. तो ये रोड का डिजाइन. और जब जब ऐसा हुआ, जैसे रोलर बेरिंग हम लोग अपनी 60s में लाए, काफी सुधार हुआ, बहुत ज्यादा जो है रेडी करनी पड़ी. बॉक्साइन जो आपके सीटीआरबी है 80s में आया, उसमें बड़ा जंप हुआ. 100 pmph वैगन जो है फिर आप 2096 में एक एक्सपेरिमेंट हुआ था जो फेल कर गया था, और फिर 2000 में फिर दोबारा HA आया था, और उसी के बाद जो है मिड 2000 से हम लोग फिर 100 kmph वगैरह पे है। तो ये जो सुधार कर रहे हैं, तो इससे आगे भी आप लोग जो डेलिब्रेट करेंगे तो इसका मकसद क्या है ये समझने की जरूरत है। एक हम लोग $100 चल रहे हैं, अभी लोडर स्टॉक में अभी भी जो है वो नहीं आया है, और ग्रेजुअली इससे आपका एक्सी लोड वगैरह बढ़ रहा है। जैसे मतलब 14 टन में ये जो आपका 4 व्हीलर का था रफली 14-15 टन के आसपास, वहां से बढ़ते बढ़ते जो है IR ट्रैक पे हम लोग जो है 22 पे आ गए हैं, और DOT के ट्रैक पे हम लोग 25 पे आ गए हैं। तो ओवरऑल वैगन डिजाइन में जो पर्सपेक्टिव है, एक आपका बेयरिंग का रोल है, एक आपका मटेरियल का रोल, और फिर ओवरऑल सस्पेंशन में हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। जो कैसनर बोगी है ये 1982 जैसा बताया था, और फिर बेसिकली 70s वगैरह की टेक्नोलॉजी है, लेट 60s की टेक्नोलॉजी है, जिसपे अभी भी जो है हम लोग केवल सेकेंडरी सस्पेंशन में प्राइमरली स्प्रिंग चेंज करके बेयरिंग चेंज करके जो है जो नॉट अ सब्सटेंशियल incremental improvement in technology. Maybe the time has come where we have to think of some substantial improvement in it. और जैसा रेल में सिस्टम है कि जब भी आप करते हैं तो आप एजेंसी डिफाइन करते हैं कहाँ पे क्या होगा, शॉप में क्या होगा, उसमें क्या होगा, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं। इसके साथ एक मेंटेलिटी की भी चीज है। जब 200 किलोमीटर में वैगन मेंटेन होता था तो उस वक्त हमारे सीनियर में कहते थे कि यार एक स्टेशन स्किप करा दो कि 400 चले जाएगा, जो है हम तुम्हारा हाथ जोड़ रहे हैं। आज हालत ये है कि 9000 किलोमीटर चलता है, उसके बाद स्किप कराना चाहते हैं। इसी तरह जो ओरिजिनली जो इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था, पहली बार 3000 हुआ था, मुगल सराय में था उस समय, मुगल सराय में, और शुरू में उन्होंने केवल 26 रेक बनाए थे। उस वक्त कंसेप्ट था क्लोज सर्किट का, कि केवल एक सर्किट में, तो उस समय बॉक्सिंग जो है केवल क्लोज सर्किट में चलते थे, ER NR उसको क्लोज सर्किट कहा करते थे। धनबाद और झरिया एरिया वगैरह में जो है इधर CIC एरिया में होता था, ऊपर कंट्री जो है लहरा मोहम्मद भटिंडा वगैरह हो जाता था। जब तक डिफाइंड सर्किट, उस सर्किट से इधर उधर आप नहीं कर सकते थे। उनमें भी आप काफी चेंज हो गया है, 2-3 सर्किट मिक्स हो गए हैं, और बहुत ज्यादा सर्किट की जो है वो बंदिश भी नहीं है। तो ये तमाम चीजें हैं, इनके भीतर जाके जो है इन सब चीजों को करके आपको करना है, और जो यूजर है he is never going to be satisfied. I had an interaction with the general manager of Return Mission CRB. Then he told me, as an user, I want an asset which when inducted till the end of life doesn't need any attention, any maintenance at all. So that is one extreme. He is right. आप अपने घर में टीवी खरीदते हैं, रेफ्रिजरेटर खरीदते हैं, ये सोच के थोड़ी खरीदते हैं कि बीच में जो हम मैकेनिक को बुला के जो है इसका कुछ IOS करवाएंगे या POS करवाएंगे, या कुछ भी इसका हम मतलब टेस्टिंग वगैरह कराएंगे। अपने खर्चा कर लो, ठीक है। टीवी जब खराब हुआ अपना रिपेयर बहुत ज्यादा, अगर आपको कुछ रिपेयर कराना भी चाहते हैं तो पिक्चर ट्यूब का दाम जो है पूरे टीवी का दाम का जो है 50%। तो that kind of thing is in railways also. As a user, he is justified in telling I need an asset with zero maintenance. Ideally, it is, that is his expectation. We have to come close to his expectation as practical it can be. तो ओवरऑल ये हो रहा है कि अपने मेंटेनेंस शेड्यूल जो है उनके बीच का जो ड्यूरेशन है या किलोमीटर है, 2 आधार पर मेंटेन करते हैं। आपके जो प्रिवेंटिव मेंटेनेंस होते हैं, यूसेज यानी किलोमीटर के आधार पर होता है या टाइम के आधार पर होता है। तो टाइम बेस्ड मेंटेनेंस या किलोमीटर बेस्ड मेंटेनेंस जो है उसका जो ड्यूरेशन है वो बढ़ेगा। ये भी आपको ध्यान में रखना है, ये बढ़ेगा। केवल यहाँ नहीं, डीजल लोको वगैरह में पहले जो है, अब जैसे मैं स्टीम लोको एग्जाम्पल दूँ, स्टीम लोको में हर ट्रिप के बाद वो स्टीम शेड में आता था। अब लोग सुनेंगे तो ये क्या चीज है। डीजल में वो 1 से बढ़कर 7 हो गया, लोग बहुत खुश हुए कि ये बहुत बड़ी चीज हो गई। फिर 7 को बढ़ा के 10 कर दिया तो लोग जो है सब एक दूसरे की इधर को दबाने लगे, बहुत बड़ा अचीवमेंट। अब देखिए 30 दिन 45 दिन आम चीज है, तो भविष्य में ये चीज भी जो है होने वाली है। तो आप लोग जो भी डिजाइन करें, तो कहने का मतलब है कि मेंटेनेंस, डिजाइन इज वन थिंग, डिजाइन एक दिन की चीज नहीं है, आगे सो डेफिनेटली लुकिंग आफ्टर इट। As far as we are concerned, we are assembled here. We have assembled here for two primary purposes. एक तो इंडिविजुअल कंपोनेंट, एक तो है क्या फेलियर का एनालिसिस वगैरह करें, क्या फेलियर है, और इंडिविजुअल कंपोनेंट के डिजाइन में या मेंटेनेंस प्रैक्टिस में अगर कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट हो सकता है तो वो इम्प्रूवमेंट लाएं। ये जो है सबसे बड़ी चीज है। एंड सेकंड चीज है कि आपके शॉप या यार्ड वगैरह का जो मेंटेनेंस है उसको स्ट्रेंथन करें। इसके स्ट्रेंथनिंग में एक चीज जो है कि एक तो विजुअल एग्जामिनेशन की जगह इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स वगैरह यूज करें, वो भी एक एस्पेक्ट होना चाहिए। और एक चीज है कि आपको फेलियर की जो है प्री वार्निंग हो या ऑन बोर्ड जो है कंडीशन मॉनिटरिंग हो, कि वो वैगन चल रहा है उसी समय उसका कंडीशन, जैसा वंदे भारत अगर हम आपको अपडेट कीजिए तो बहुत सारे पैरामीटर्स हैं जो ऑन बोर्ड जो है कंप्यूटर में आते रहता है कि इसका ये है, इसका ये टेम्परेचर ये है, ये तमाम चीजें जो है, ये प्रेशर ये है। तो मेंटेनेंस में आप आइएगा तो एक ऑन बोर्ड है, अभी तक हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा उसमें काम नहीं किए हैं, तो एक ऑन बोर्ड का हो गया, दूसरा प्री वार्निंग का हो गया। तो प्री वार्निंग में जैसे आपके वेस्ट साइड इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स इक्विपमेंट्स वगैरह जो हैं वो बेसिकली प्री वार्निंग का काम करते हैं। लेकिन कुछ चीजें उसमें हुई हैं, जैसे आपका वाइड वगैरह लगा हुआ है तो उससे आपको कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट वगैरह है। फिर आपका हॉट एक्सेल हॉट बेयरिंग डिटेक्टर वगैरह लगा हुआ है, उससे भी काफी फायदा हुआ है। एक प्री वार्निंग में जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है वो आपका, जिसको लोग OMRS कहते हैं, उसका प्रोप्राइटरी टेक्नोलॉजी है रेल बॉम, रेल एकॉस्टिक बेयरिंग मेजरमेंट। तो उसमें ये है मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम, तो वो रेलवे से लिया लेकिन हमारे बहुत ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुआ। क्यों नहीं हुआ, बस हम ब्रीफ में बता रहे हैं कि बेसिकली वो टेक्नोलॉजी इस चीज पे काम करती है कि जब बेयरिंग खराब होने के काफी पहले, लेट से कि 10,000 किलोमीटर पहले से ही जो है उसकी जो आवाज है वो चेंज हो जाती है। अब समझिए एक ट्रेन जो है वो चल रही है 80 किलोमीटर 100 किलोमीटर पे ट्रेन चल रही है, उसके बेयरिंग से कुछ आवाज आ रही है, उसका पहिया जो है रेल से गुजर रहा है उससे कुछ आवाज निकल रही है, जो स्लीपर है उससे कुछ आवाज है, वहां पे अगर ज्वाइंट है उससे कुछ आवाज है। तो इन सारी आवाजों को कैप्चर करके, और खुदा ना खास्ते अगर उस पहिए में कुछ फ्लैट बेस है तो उससे भी कुछ आवाज निकलेगी। तो ये 5-6 तरह की आवाज को कनेक्ट करके उसमें से बेयरिंग की आवाज को आइसोलेट करना, यही अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी टेक्नोलॉजी है। और उस आवाज को अच्छे बेयरिंग के टेम्परेचर, अच्छे बेयरिंग का जो आवाज है उसको तो जो है सारे आवाज के लिए उससे बाकी जो आवाज है उसको हटाए, वो सिग्नल काफी वीक हो जाता है कॉस्टिक सिग्नल, उसको जो है फिर आप एम्पलीफाई किए, एम्पलीफाई करने के बाद फिर आप अच्छे कॉस्टिक सिग्नेचर से कंपेयर किए, फिर डिसाइड किए कि ये जो है ठीक है या नहीं। तो यहाँ पे लगाए थे, मेरी समझ से 10 या 15 हम लोग लगाए थे। तो हालांकि मिक्स रिजल्ट आए, तो रेलवे जो है बाकी का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन रेलवे ने भी रोक दिया, कुछ उसमें और इम्प्रूवमेंट वगैरह होगा तो शायद आए, या इमीडिएटली कभी नहीं आने वाला। इसमें भी एक कारण है जो कि रिलेवेंट है, मैं यहाँ बता दूं, ये चीज जो है ऑस्ट्रेलिया में काफी सक्सेसफुली काम कर रहा है, और सबसे बड़ा आप लोग ये काफी लोग पढ़ते ही होंगे, वर्ल्ड में सबसे बड़ी सबसे हेवी फ्रेट ट्रेन अगर नहीं चलती तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में चलती है। वहां भी बहुत ही सक्सेसफुली ये चीज काम कर रहा है, लेकिन इंडिया में नहीं कर पा रहा है। इसका एक सबसे बड़ा कारण ये है कि हम लोग का जो गेज है, हम लोग 1.6 को यूज करते हैं ब्रॉड गेज। तो ऐसी गेज जो है वर्ल्ड में केवल 3 ही जगह यूज हो रही है, एक इंडिया है, एक स्पेन है और एक है पोर्चुगल। इसीलिए स्पेन का जो टैल्गो आया था तो बिना किसी परिवर्तन के जो है ट्रैक करके चला गया। कहीं और से आप कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी लेते हैं तो उनके यहाँ या तो स्टैंडर्ड गेज जैसे बुलेट ट्रेन है 1.45 का 1.45 का, तो या तो स्टैंडर्ड गेज में कुछ और गेज मिलेगा। तो जैसे आप गेज चेंज करते हैं उसको फिर ब्रॉड गेज मुताबिक करते हैं तो कंप्लीट रीडिजाइनिंग हो जाता है। इट इज नॉट कि केवल स्केल डाउन करके हम हो जाएंगे, कंप्लीट री इंजीनियरिंग हो जाता है। तो इन अदर के साथ एक कंस्ट्रेंट है कि बहुत सारी टेक्नोलॉजी आप स्टेट में इंपोर्ट नहीं कर सकते। जैसे मेट्रो है, अब शुरू का जो है 2 फेज छोड़ के जो ब्रॉड गेज आया था, बाकी सारे मेट्रो स्टैंडर्ड गेज हैं, क्योंकि आपके लिए को री इंजीनियर नहीं करेगा। और वो जो शुरू के 2 लेग पे आए थे उसमें बोगी वगैरह सब स्टैंडर्ड गेज का था, और उतने क्लियरेंस के बावजूद जो है उसका जो बॉडी था वो उन्होंने पतला मतलब छोटा बॉडी ही लगा दिया। अब मेट्रो में जाएंगे या बाकी जगह देखिए, जैसे दिल्ली हावड़ा में तो आपके मतलब 12 फीट जो है 3.6 मीटर की विड्थ का वैगन बॉडी होता है। इंडियन रेलवे में 3250 होता है, मेट्रो में कटा के मेरे समझ से 28 से 29 होता है। तो उस डायमेंशन का एडवांटेज वो नहीं ले पाए। लेकिन ओवरऑल ये है कि आपके लिए रेडीमेड टेक्नोलॉजी इवन ग्लोबल मार्केट में कम है। They have to re-engineer over it. They have to re-engineer over it. They have to test here. They have to go through the iterative process. Iterative process होता है कि आपने कुछ किया, उसका रिजल्ट निकला, उसको फिर फिट किया, फिर उसको इम्प्रूव किया। ये साइकिल जब चलेगा तभी जो है लोकल कंडीशन के मुताबिक जो है वो लोकलाइज हो पाएगा, अच्छा हो पाएगा। तो इन सारे कंसेप्ट को आप समझिए। सबका कहने का मतलब है कि आप लोगों के ऊपर बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है। मतलब इस तरह की चीज नहीं है कि चलिए हमें जो है फिर ये पसंद आ गया, सोनी का टीवी हम उठा लिए, कैमरा हमें निकॉन पसंद नहीं है, हमें ऐसे एंड्रॉइड पसंद नहीं। ग्लोबल मार्केट टेक्नोलॉजी आपके लिए ऑफ द शेल्फ नहीं। तो इन तमाम चीजों को समझकर जो है फिर आप डेलिब्रेट करें, और अल्टीमेटली आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव जो है फिर यही होना चाहिए कि हमारे रिलायबिलिटी बढ़े, सेफ्टी बढ़े। अब मैं एनसीआर में था तो हर दिन 5-6 तो ऐसे केस होते ही रहते थे। किसी का बेरिंग हो गया, किसी का जो है फिर कपलर का हो गया। तो आप लोग फील्ड से आए हैं, आप लोग को एरियाज पता है कि कौन सा एरियाज में जो है वैगन में रिलायबिलिटी की इंप्रूवमेंट की जरूरत है। एज फार एज उसकी थ्रूपुट अगर बढ़ाना है तो उसके लिए हमें कहाँ स्पीड बढ़ाने के लिए हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं, फिर बेरिंग वगैरह का है। फिर बहुत सारे जो हमारे जो डिजाइन इंजीनियर्स हैं, खासकर आरडीएसओ के हैं, इवन मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर्स सर, आप लोग जो है जैसे जो वैगन का जो एक साइकिल होता है, एग्जामिनेशन से लेकर उसका लोडिंग, अनलोडिंग और फिर री एग्जामिनेशन, दिस इज कंप्लीट साइकिल। मेरी समझ से 1% लोग भी कंप्लीट साइकिल नहीं देखते हैं। कितने लोग ऐसे हैं जो जाकर देखें कि लोडिंग कैसे हो रहा है, कितने लोग जाकर देखें कि अनलोडिंग कैसे हो रहा है। जब बॉक्सर नेचे जो फर्स्ट 100 pm के वैगन था, जब इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था, मेरे समझ से 306 या 308 वैगन थे, 5 रेट थे उसके। तो 2-3 ट्रिप के बाद जो है उसका जो मतलब सेकेंडरी सस्पेंशन के का था, उसका जो है सारे स्प्रिंग जो है टूट टाट गए। जो नेस्टेड स्प्रिंग ऊपर में होता है पर बोगी और मतलब बॉडी के बीच में, उस डिजाइन को जब रीचेक कराया गया तो आरडीएसओ के इंजीनियर्स जो है अपने खड़े रहे कि नहीं, मेरा डिजाइन तो ठीक है, सारा कैलकुलेशन उन्होंने दिखा दिया। लेकिन उसमें जो चीज हो रहा था उसके बाद जो है हमने उसमें फिर डिजाइन चेंजेस को सजेस्ट किए थे, जो कि बाद में फिर इम्प्लीमेंट हुआ था। इनर स्प्रिंग का ये हाइट जो है ऑर्डर से कम थी, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। अब होता क्या है कि वैगन जो है बॉक्सन था, बेसिकली उन्होंने बीएलसी वाला ही कॉपी कर दिया था। अब बॉक्सर नहीं, उसका टिपलिंग होता है, तो टिपलिंग होता है तो इनर स्प्रिंग जो है थोड़ा खिसक गया, उसको अपनी जगह पे रखने के लिए ऊपर में उसका स्पीकर नहीं था। तो ये चीजें जो है उसका फिर उन्होंने डिजाइन इंप्रूव किया, मिस्टर वीरेंद्र कुमार और मिस्टर संजय कुमार उसमें डायरेक्टर, उन्होंने इंप्रूव किया, डिजाइन में बढ़ाया, ऊपर नीचे स्पीकर वगैरह जोड़ा, कुछ इंस्ट्रक्शन विंडो वगैरह भी जोड़ा। तो अब इस तरह की चीज से आप वाकिफ नहीं है कि बॉक्सर का टिपलिंग कैसे होता है, वहां जाकर देखिए, कभी एक बार जाकर देखिए टिपलिंग कैसे होता है, लोडिंग कैसे होता है। तो वैगन वगैरह में जो है और ओवरऑल इम्प्रूवमेंट करना है कि सारी साइकिल को जो है अभी लोडिंग कर रहा है, वो तो प्राइवेट पार्टी अपना खुद का लोडिंग कर रहा है, वो अपना धक्का मारता है, उसका एक्सटेंशन टूटा, ऊपर का टॉप कोपिंग टूटा, क्या टूटा नहीं टूटा, उससे को मतलब नहीं है। उसको तो 6 घंटे दिया हुआ, 6 घंटे में लोडिंग करना है। ऊपर जहाँ हॉपर से लोडिंग होता है तो नॉर्मल कोयला तो लोड हो ही रहा है, बीच में जो है पता चला कि 500 kg का टुकड़ा आया और सीधे जो है टूट गया, पूरा जो है आपका फ्लोर पर तोड़ दिया। तो आप कितनी भी इंजीनियरिंग कर लें, इन चीजों को आप नहीं कर सकते। तो मतलब ओवरऑल पिक्चर फिर आपको बता दिया, इसमें हर चीज में जाकर जो है फिर आपको इम्प्रूवमेंट वगैरह करने की जरूरत है। निसंदेह आप सब लोग जो है काबिल हैं, मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है, पूरा भरोसा है कि आप लोग जो है इन चैलेंजेस को दूर करेंगे। लेकिन इसके पहले जो है, जो जरूरी चीज है कि चैलेंजेस क्या है उनको समझें। आपके सामने कंस्ट्रेंट क्या है, प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वर्किंग कंडीशन क्या है, मेंटेनेंस कंडीशन क्या है। अब वैगन का मेंटेनेंस करते हैं ट्रेडिशनली फिट नहीं है। अब कोई चीज आप ऐसी लगा दिए कि जब तक आदमी नीचे से जाके नहीं देखेगा पता नहीं चलेगा, वो चीज बकवास है, उस तरह की डिजाइन नहीं होनी चाहिए। तो इन सारी चीजों को जो है करके मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि फ्रेट हमारा मेन स्टे है, तो इससे अर्निंग भी बढ़ेगी और हमें जो हाई वैल्यू गुड्स है, हम लोग हालांकि पार्सल से कुछ इसको कैप्चर करने की कोशिश करते हैं, लेकिन सारे नहीं हो सकते हैं। हाई वैल्यू गुड्स की जो है टैरिफ जो है वो ज़्यादा नहीं बढ़े, रिलायबिलिटी वगैरह तमाम चीज़ों में सुधार हो। मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि आप लोग इन चीज़ों को करेंगे और इसी उम्मीद के साथ जो है आज का जो नॉलेज शेयरिंग प्रोग्राम है मेरी ओर से जो है शुभकामनाएं हैं। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring address. On behalf of IRIMEE and all participants, we express sincere gratitude to Honorable Director General IRIMEE for graciously moderating this workshop and for sharing his valuable guidance. We shall now proceed with the first technical session. I invite the first speaker, Mr. Vijay Kumar Gautam, Director Standard Wagon, RDSO, to kindly take the dais and commence the session on the topic improvement in bogies and its capacities. Service now. So let us start our first session on improvement in freight booking and its subcomponents. So before I start, I just want to thank IRIMEE Jamalpur and Jamalpur WhatsApp for their cooperation and support what they have extended to make this workshop run successful workshop. And as the name suggests, it is a knowledge sharing workshop. So let us come forward and share your experience, share your ideas. In fact, this is one of the forums where the staffs, supervisors, and officers from the field units, RSO, and the IRIMEEs are all together, and they have a lot of ideas and their experience with them. So we can definitely share these ideas and in which one another. So with this, I will like to start my presentation. Before I start, I will just briefly like to inform you that in this presentation, I have tried to use the knowledge or try to use the experience that what we have incurred in the last 2 3 years with the failures that we have been or are also have been asked to associate. In this association, what we have observed that there were many cases where there was a feeling from our ISO side that some knowledge or some not only in terms of technical guidelines, but also making the existing guideline understand the field limits. In some of the cases, like we have observed that there is an intermixing of different bogies in a wagon, like NLB and HS bogie were mixed together. There were cases of improper maintenance of center pivot. There was cases of improper maintenance of side mirror. So, and not only the maintenance aspect, there was a lack of understanding. So I tried to capture those things in my presentation. So let's start with the brief history about the freight bogie. So basically, as you can see that we can categorize the freight bogie in three categories. One is the Kastner bogie, which is one of its earliest bogie that was introduced over Indian Railway system. And then later on, we developed LCCF bogie for container wagons. And then the latest development is LWLH 25-ton bogie. Each bogie has its different rules, and just I will briefly touch upon that. Kastner bogie was introduced as rightly director sir said in 1980s and 70s in fact, and the earliest bogie was W bogie, that is white jaw bogie, and it was having white jaw, integrated center pivot, and sliding right brake. And it was very heavy bogie, having weighing more than 5.5 tons. Each bogie weight was very heavy. Later on, it was improved to WM bogie based on the experience. And in fact, this earliest bogie was not having any provision for elastomeric pad. So that time there were cases of wheel gears and dynamic issues. So the concept of elastomeric pad, that is primary suspension, was introduced in WM bogie with hanging type brake wheel. Later on, uh, uh, study of optimizing the bogie weight was taken by ISO, and that led to development of NL bogie. Now, as name suggests, that is the narrow jaw with light weight. And again, further, the chemistry of this bogie was improved, and with the collaboration with the stockholders, two new bogies further evolved. One bogie was called NLB, that was and based on the same bogie, but the NL bogie was converted to NLB, and that was the bogie that was using the chemistry of MS Besco foundries. And another bogie that was evolved from NL bogie was NLM, that Mukund bogie that was using the chemistry of Mukund bogie, Mukund form. But later on, BESCO was agreed to share their chemistry with Indian Railways, and we have taken forward this NLB bogie. However, NLM couldn't proliferate it further because of constraint that Mukund didn't agree to share their chemistry. Now, as you can understand that W, WM, NL, NLM, now all these bogies are obsolete now these days. The latest or the recent bogie is HS bogie, and here you can see some new terms HSM, NLM, and RFT. So I will talk about these new bogies in my presentation. And just briefly like to tell you that we have technical maintenance template for Kastner. As you know that G95 is the technical bulletin that can be followed, whereas for LCCF and LWLH, G112, a technical bulletin can be followed. As in Kastner bogie, Earlier we were using roller bearing. Later on it was upgraded to CTRB. However, in LCCF and LWLH, CTRB is being used since inception, whereas in LCCF E-class CTRB is used, whereas in LWLH K-class CTRB is used. Now, as with respect to secondary suspension, we have in caster bogie, we are using helical spring with a single type stiffness, that is for NLP, and dual suspension for HS bogie. This is major difference that also I will talk about in my next slides. Whereas in LCCF and LWLH bogie are using dual suspension. That is, it has one suspension in empty condition and another suspension in cross condition, the low distance spacing. That friction wedge is one of the major difference in all those bogies. In case of Castner bogie, we are using magnesium steel in some of the bogies and also EDI or non-metallic wedge in other bogies. However, in LCCF bogie, the original design, which was designed for 20 ton BLC and BLC A and B, that these bogies were built with magnesium steel friction wedge. Later on, when this bogie was upgraded to 22 ton, 100 kmph speed, this bogie was built with the ADI or non-metallic wedge. However, in LWLH bogie, we are using magnesium steel. Now, I'll briefly talk about this new bogies, that what we have developed and what are the bogies which are now these days are in operation. Now, as a part, as Director Sir has rightly mentioned that there are certain areas that RDSO or Indian Railways should work upon, and that is the axle load and the speed. And this is what we are actually working on for last 4-5 years. Just to mention you that global standard is that freight bogies or freight wagons are operational at maximum speed of 100 or 120 km. No world, no country is using any freight cars above 120 km. That is the maximum. So with respect to speed, we are more or less closer to the world standard. However, yes, we lag in the axle load. Now there is a concept of heavy haul operations, which means the axle load above 25 tons. Ours is maximum is the 25 tons. So that is the area which required definitely some study, some work, which can lead to development or improvement in axle load. So as a part of Mission Raftar, as all of you may be aware, or just would like to introduce you, that Indian Railway in 2018-19 has taken an initiative to increase the speed potential of all its freight stock to one speed, that is 100 kmph. A mandate was given to RDSO that bring all wagons to a common speed of 100 kmph in empty and loaded. That was the task that was assigned to RDSO in 2018 and 19. That time, out of all around 30% overall with all population, around 30% of freight cars were actually fit for 100 kmph. That was like a box NHL, BCNE AM1, BCNE HSM1, like that. But most of the other wagons were having speed potential either very low or less than 100 kmph. So this task, when it was given to RDSO, we studied these bogies, we studied these wagons, and we, as a designer, we do generally any modification in suspension, because with respect to structure, you are not supposed to do much changes because it will lead to major change. Number one, and secondly, for a dynamic performance, generally it comes from suspensions. Either it is from any modification in primary suspension, that is elastomeric compatible, or in secondary suspension, whereas helical spring or friction wedges, or in side bearer, which is used for improving the curving performance of the wagon. So we have taken the same initiative, that is to modify the suspensions so as to increase the speed potential of the wagons which are not fit for 100 kmph. So as a part of that exercise, we were successful in almost upgrading the speed potential of around another 30% wagon by doing suitable modification in the existing suspension. and that resulted into development of NL, which for those wagons which were fitted with NL, and whereas those wagons which were fitted with HS bogie and not fit for 100 kmph, when we did this modification in the bogies, that resulted into development of HS bogie. I'll briefly tell what is the difference. So, with respect to NLB and NLBM bogie, the bogies in totality is same. The only difference is in the secondary suspension. And what is the difference? It is in the number of spring sides, the number of outer and inner springs of NLB and LLBM were reduced. As you can see that the existing NLB bogies are fitted with the outer spring 14, or in some bogies it is, in some wagon it is 12, whereas inner is either 10 or 8. When it was graded to NLBM, we bring the number to 12 in case of outer spring and 8 in case of inner spring. Now, and secondly, what modification were done? Second modification was with respect to side bearer. These bogies NLB are traditionally fitted with few type side bearer, design B. Now, to improve the curving performance, we have used spring-loaded side bearer or the side bearer which are governed by the RDSO latest specification WD62. And the third modification pertains to change of friction wedge. Why this friction wedge was important? To improve the damping of the wagon or damping of the bogie. The existing NLB bogie were fitted with the magnetic steel friction wedge. Now this NLBM bogie were fitted with the either ADI or non-metallic friction wedge. What is this ADI or non-metallic friction wedge? This is basically a same wedge which is of magnetic steel, but it has a higher coefficient of friction. So this increases the damping of the bogie, and the side mirror help into improving the curving performance of the wagon. And reduction in the spring suspension help in the improving the timing of the wagon. So these three modification help the wagon to ride it or to run it at 100 kph both in empty and loaded condition. Similarly, in case of the wagons which were fitted with the HS bogie, we did the same modification or a similar modification where the secondary suspension springs were reduced. A number was reduced, that outer spring bring down from 14 to outer springs were kept same. Inner spring in fact reduced from 14 to 12. And side bearer again from design A PU side to long travel side bearer as per RDSO specification WD62, and the friction wedge again magnesium steel to non-metallic or ABI. These three modifications help the HS bogie wagons also to improve to their speed potential to 100 km. However, in certain cases, with this modification also, we couldn't able to improve the dynamic or improve the speed potential of the wagon to 100 km. For example, BCN type wagon, 10 type wagon, or a DCN HSM1 hopper type wagon, which were longer in length, wider in diameter, width, higher height. So their dynamic requirement is quite different. Not with this minor modification, we could able to improve their speed potential. So that required major change in their suspension system. For this, what we did, we have to redesign the complete suspension system. That includes redesigning of spring, that is the outer spring, inner spring, snubber outer, snubber in. This is completely different springs, not similar springs that is of the HS bogie or NLB bogie. So that is the one change. And this bogie were also fitted with non-metallic friction wedge or ADI wedge. And third is long travel side bearer. So with this modification, we could able to improve the remaining wagons speed to 100 kmph. And this new bogie what developed, because now this bogie is completely different because it has a different suspension, it has a different wedge, it has a different side bearer, and we call it RFT bogie. So this is another type of bogie. So that is basically evolved as a part of mission Raftar. As one question coming in your mind, why do we have so many type of bogies? That most of you must be thinking. And in fact, we are keep on increasing the variants. This may result into maintenance issues, confusion, and all those things. This is a very valid question. But why it is so? One reason is that you cannot have a single bogie which can fit for all type of wagon. Why? Because each wagon has its different dynamics requirements. Smaller wagons has some type of dynamic requirements, whereas a longer wagon, wider wagon has a different type of dynamic requirement. Of bogies. And why this different type of wagon? Because you have a coal, you have a cement, you have a grain. So these commodities require different type of wagons, and these different type of wagons require different type of bogies. You cannot have a same bogies which can fit all the wagons. So this is one reason. That is, however, we while designing, we always take care of that minimum modification is required, or minimum modification is what minimum modification we can able to upgrade the speed, or we can maintain the dynamic requirement. And what is the dynamic requirement? Must be coming to your mind. What is the dynamic requirement? What is this thing? So just to briefly tell you that any wagon or any rolling stock, before putting into the service, it has to meet certain safety and comfort level before it is being introduced. And once it is met, then only we issue a speed certificate. And that speed certificate, that is the authority or a legal document that tell yes, this wagon can be used at that speed. So before, and how this speed certificate is issued? Based on certain trials. So we do some oscillation, that we call it oscillation trial. In that oscillation trial, we actually run the vehicle at a speed 10% higher than the speed what is required. For example, if you want that this wagon at 100 kph, that wagon has to run at 110 kph to check its dynamic parameters. What is the dynamic parameter? That is derailment coefficient should be within the limit. Lateral force should be within the limit. Maximum acceleration should be within the limit. Maximum lateral acceleration should be within the limit. So all 4-5 criteria to be met with that wagon, so that this can be declared as a fit for operation. So this is just a brief introduction why this different type of bogies are required, different type of wagons are required, and what are these new bogies. So please understand that NLB bogie or HS bogie is completely different bogie. Don't intermix them. This is completely prohibited. And now you may be having NLBM, NLB HSM or RFT bogie also. So please take care of this understanding when you are working at your workshop or at depot, that clear-cut marking is given, clear-cut drawing is being followed. What wedge or side mirror, I have just introduced you. What are the major changes in this bogie? So you should keep this understanding while you maintain or when you receive this bogie. Yes, this NLM bogie is there, or NLB M bogie is there. So what type of side mirror we have to follow? What type of wedge we have to follow? What is the spring group we have to see? It is given in the drawings. I am just giving you a small introduction. Now I will come to the improvement that what we have done in last 4-5 years, and that we would like to share with you. This is just exploded view of a freight stock, a freight bogie, and as you can see that we have a axle, above which we have a adapter, and above which we have a EM pad. I don't require much explanation on this. Okay, so you all are very much familiar with this. I'll directly come to the improvement part. So the first, let me start with the jaw or the side frame level. So what improvement we have done in last 2 years, and what is you should know also. So one thing what we have done is that we have tried to reduce the clearance at a jaw level, and this is very important. We have done 3 major changes at a jaw level in the caster bogie, in LWL bogie, and also we are doing in wide jaw LCCF bogie. This will also be very soon issued to all of you. We will be getting into instruction. But for CASNAB and LWLS bogies, it has already been done. And what are these modifications or changes? Number We have first provided towards the elastomeric pad just to restrict the unwanted movement of the elastomeric pad. As you can see here, I don't know. This you can see that there are two lugs, and similarly one more lug is on the other side. Okay, so this is in the you have to provide this lugs during maintenance by building a proper metal piece with the MIG or magnetic. And now whatever the new bogies are coming, they are having as cast. So you have to just do the retrofitment, and I think most of you are familiar and have been doing this. Okay, the purpose of this is to restrict the unwanted movement of elastomeric pad, and also it in larger extent it prohibit or prevent the tilting of the adapter. Okay, so this is one of the major important thing. Secondly, as you can see that this is the short jaw and the long jaw. As you can see in the G95 also, or in Wagon this manual also, there is a wide gap, wide range of tolerance in the gap in the clearance at short jaw and the long jaw. It varied from it is a 16 mm to 28 mm. This is very high, and nowhere in the world this type of clearance is being maintained. I'm telling you very frankly. So we have tried to restrict those clearances. We have tried to narrow down clearances, keeping it, bringing it to closer to the lower limit. So this is also been done with this modification. Okay, we have reduced the jaw at short level and long level. Long level. Now the new bogies are coming with this reduced clearances. What you have to do whenever you are getting such bogies, you have to just build an appropriate size of liner so that these clearances are bring to the lower limit. Okay, and apart from this, we have increased the projection area of the long jaw. Projection area of the long jaw, as you can see, this is the long jaw area. So this will basically increase the contact area of the side frame with the adapter. Okay, so what you must be having experience of, there is a line sort of wear is visible over the adapter. Very narrow, narrow strip sort of wear is visible after let us say 1 year, 2 years along the adapter. Okay, this has happened only when because very low clearance is there between the adapter and side frame, and it is so very clear intent. So to avoid such type of situation, we have basically increased the thickness. So it increase the thickness and also reduce the clearances. So this will keep the adapter always what you say restrictive and avoid any unwanted movements. And the increased projection will ensure that it has a very low wear rate rather than line wear content. Okay. Apart from that, this is the 37 mm packing which is used to maintain the height. CBC height. Okay, when the wind dia goes below, I think 935. 950. Okay, sorry. So this is the packing used. Earlier, it used to have a very big hole, center hole, and it was found that it was making serious projection over the side frame roof, isn't it? So we have reduced that hole and make it plain. Number one, we have provided this sort of lug on this packing. So what will happen? What will it will do? It will tightly fit with the elastomeric pad, and it will so tight or so integral with the elastomeric pad that it will not allow the any sort of movement between elastomeric pad and the packing. Otherwise, I have seen personally, in fact, that in most of the cases, what happens, this packing is either on the rear side of the jaw or on the trailing side of the jaw, and it will, once it will reach to that level, it will maintain that position. It will at all time it will lead to eccentric tilting on the adapter and tilting of the adapter both. Okay, so this integral this provision will ensure that it will maintain the integrity with the adapter and the elastomeric pad. So these are the basic small changes Accordingly, all the drawings have been issued and working on G95 also. Very soon you will get a very good document with regard to G95. And in fact, I would request all of you that my team is here. You, Mr. Pramod and Mr. Vijaypal, they will be contacting with you. Okay, so you can give them your feedback with regard to G95. What are the changes you want, or what are the problems that you are facing with the G95? Because this is a long exercise we have been doing with the modification in G95, and we are trying to ensure that the document which come up is more practical, understandable, and easing your maintenance activities. So this is the best time for all of us to give your suggestions. Okay. So today we are here, tomorrow also we are here. If you have any one-to-one interaction, you can either talk to them or me also. Okay. Now, so improvement measures for the side frame. Again, we have been told, or there were many references from the Journal Railway that the SF key bolt is not properly fitting with the nut. Okay, so and that was we have examined, and what we found that when the SF key is put on the side frame and bolt is inserted, due to non-standard thickness of the side frame bottom, it led to sometimes difficulty in tightening or fitting of the second nut. Okay. So what we did, we have basically increased the length of SFT from 70 mm to 80 mm, and we have now found from most of the workshop that it is now solving the issue that they were facing. And secondly, we have also made one change, not change, basically it is on trial basis, but nylon nut in lieu of castle nut can be used in SFT. And many railways are using this. We have also asked them to give their feedback. If feedback is positive, we will regularize it. We will standardize and we will make it as a part of our GNA. Here, people are building it. Yes, sir. In case of castle nut, they are welding it. But in case of nylon nut, that don't that provision is
they are almost welded.
Yeah.
Side keys are welded.
They are welding it because it is that strong.
That is there, sir. That
So
is.
now if you put long nut, they still weld it. Out of that, the long nut loses it.
That is the only major issue because of your authorization.
Then you should start for the regular people do not have to faster.
Okay.
Okay, very uncommon design you take.
Sir.
And then issue should be supposed to open.
Then what will happen? Then they have to invariably come to remove it, sir. That is another.
They do not have the tool. Like we have ACP setting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, normally it is not available. We have to reset it. So we have to do the art and all. The issue is appearance. The prospect is okay. Castle nut still better, but the issue is that.
Thank you.
So that how would you address that part?
For therapy point of view, that castle nut is better in fact as compared to hang because it has provision for welding, and at least cutting is not done. It will not be that way. Yeah. We will think about that. I mean, we are working on it. The best what we have come out is.
But it is not an engineering issue.
Yeah.
It is a behavioral issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
So after you are trying to address to nylon nut versus castle nut versus.
No problem, sir.
It is not that issue. It is not an issue which has an engineering deficit.
Yes, sir.
It's an issue which like. So at the secondary where don't Gujarat Center either you should have uncommon design which probably we
Let us think about this, sir.
Definitely, see, if you provide technical something, maybe you
Check it out. Okay, take it.
instead of 80 mm, you go for 90 mm, maybe 2 nuts, maybe save some effort.
नहीं एफर्ट तो जो 1 मिनट निकाले और 2 दिन निकाले वो बड़ी बात नहीं
वो
है।
तो
ठीक है।
ये जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स बस है।
ठीक है। इस पे we will tomorrow we are here. We will discuss in more detail. Let me. Then with respect to center pivot, in this presentation I will more focus on center pivot, which is one of the major issue that we have faced that railway is facing, and another is the site error. I'll try to spend some time on these two topics. Okay, just have a patience with me. Okay. So one thing what we have communicated to zonal railways that they can use flat center pivot in place of spherical center pivot. There was a this thing because it is more maintenance friendly. Of course, flat center pivot is more maintenance friendly. So that is the one instruction we have given. In all type of wagon, you can use flat type center pivot wherever possible in place of spherical center pivot. And of course, when the replacement is warranted, okay, don't condemn the serviceable or serviced center pivot, spherical center pivot just to replace the flat. Secondly, of course, this I will talk about in more detail in the next slide. That is the upgradation in the material of center pivot pin. Okay. And we have issued a detailed guideline for fitting center pivot pin and the cycle lock. I'll just talk about these guidelines in my next slide. So one part that we have touched upon is the improvement in center pivot pin, cycle lock, and lock pin. Okay. So these three items, that is center pivot pin, cycle lock, and lock pin, earlier it used to be we have defined a grade, but we haven't defined a material. In the process of manufacturing. Now we have standardized this the material for all these three pins, and this is IS 1875 class 4, which is a forged material. Okay, and the process is mandated as forging. So it cannot be manufactured now by any other means. It has to be only manufactured by forging process using this material. So this is the one change that we have done. Number two, we have issued a very clear and a very beautiful standard document covering the detailed manufacturing process, infrastructure, testing protocol, and what are the limits, you know, in this STR, and along with that one check sheet, because it is not an RSO control, it is a consigned inspected item. So just to ease your purchase, just to make you more understandable that what material you are getting, it is meeting the requirement of specification or not, we have issued one STR and check sheet to ensure that. So that is there in this document. And whatever I am talking about, I have covered all the documents in this at the end of my slides. I will be sharing with you. You can refer them, or probably you may be having those documents. Okay. And third is we have that is one more major issue that we were told that sharing of center pivot pin, isn't it? In some of the derailment cases, or not only derailment cases, in some of the normal service condition also, we have observed that there were some center pivot having a tent mark or the shear. And just want to tell you that the center pivot is not something we should take any kind of load. The center pivot pin should not take any load. The all tractive effort or braking is basically transmitted from the bogie to the wagon or wagon to the bogie through center pivot top and bottom. And in all this situation, the center pivot pin is basically free, technically. Okay. But and if it is so, then why it is taking shear load, or why there is from where this dead mass are coming up? So we have examined this aspect, and what we have found that when this center pivot pin, I mean center pivot top and bottom is at the extreme end, or when it is at the extreme maintenance end, when the wear is maximum, in that situation there are possibilities that center pivot pin may touch the inner hole of the center pivot bottom and top, bottom in fact. Okay. Yes, it is not designed to take any time. It is just used whenever you lift a wagon, I mean bogie. So or wagon, you should come with that. Or when you want to dismantle, you just remove the cycle lock, the bogie and wagon will be two separate units. Okay, and in case of derailment, yes, this play a major role. In case of derailment or any severe movement, then what happens? This will basically keep the bogie integrated with the wagon body. Okay, otherwise what will happen? The bogie and wagon will dismantle, and in some of the cases you might have been seen that due to derailment, the bogie and wagon has spread like anything. This has happened only because of non-availability of second law. Okay, and there is no provision of close binding of the body with the bogie because of this non-availability of second law. That is the only purpose of this second law. I mean the center pivot pin. So what we did, we have basically modified the dimension of the center pivot pin. Earlier it used to be 55 mm. Now we have reduced it to 45 mm. With this reduced dimension, even in the worst condition, it will never touch the center, the inner hole of the center pivot bottom. So that is the one aspect. Secondly, we have upgraded the material from 350 to 450. So mechanical properties is improved. The strength is more or less same that what used to be of 55 mm. Now it is of same with the 45 mm diameter. So this is the, and drawings have been issued. You have to just do that whenever you are going to change this center pivot pin, please follow those trends. Please ensure that the new center pivots are being fitted with this latest trend.
You said that it is not supposed to take any
No, sir. In a normal operation, it should not take, because what happens, sir? There is the back and body is there. From there, the center pivot top, and then it is coming to bottom. And at the bottom, you are putting cycle lock, washer, pin, and safety pin. And even then, you have at least 10 to 15 mm gap between the top, between the bottom of the center pivot bottom and the top of the washer, because washer is the unit which is on the top side. So up to 10 mm vertical movement it will take, yes. And during this tractive or braking distance or even the lateral movement, the clearance is just a 5 mm between the top and bottom. So first it will get compensated, isn't it? So even then also the pin should not take. In fact, I am just mentioning you, sir. Sir. Yeah.
It is allowed it to go up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And if the lift allowed between is more than the between top and bottom, then it might go up. So that's not the case.
Sir.
The lift in the side center top and bottom has to be more than the allowed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That will never come out.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly. Yes, sir.
If that be the case, then it will not touch.
Yeah.
Why it is touching? It must be touching because the clearance will be allowing the poster to flow.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly.
Right, and then touching it.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless those clearances are arrested, this might be.
Definitely, sir. That also we have done. I am touching that in the next slide. I'll talk about that, sir. Yes, you are very right, sir. That is very important aspect that what sir has mentioned. That clearances. Earlier, yes, just to mention you, and I will talk on this issue in detail in the next slide. That the center pivot, in case of flat center pivot, the vertical and horizontal clearance were not specified anywhere, isn't it? It was not specified anywhere. Now we have tackled that. We have now clearly mentioned, and I will talk about that how this clearances is maintained, what are the upper limit, everything. Okay, so this is very important part. Second is improvement in center pivot washer. Yes, so center pivot washer is definitely a very important role in the dynamics and also the performance of this complete center pivot assembly. And what is this? It is basically a metal and non-metal compound placed together. It is a rubberized part on the top and the metal part at the bottom. Both are bonded together. Okay. And the purpose is that what sir has said, that when you lift a bogie, a wagon, okay, so in that case it should try to damp out certain shocks or certain jobs. without transmitting it to directly to the either center pivot bottom or to the bogie or even to the pattern. This is the basic role of this item. Okay, for this also we have made a very standard technical requirement specification that you should follow while you are placing a tender, or you should communicate to your store officers or the procurement agency that whenever you are procuring, please make sure this STR or these check sheets are being part of that. And not only that, you can, because it's a self-consigned inspection, you can also inspect at your end also. So just to ease your what you say quality of the material, we have made a ready-made what you say standard for with respect to STR and the check sheet. And and in both the cases, in the case of center pivot or center pivot washer, one aspect which was completely missing was the marking. And in fact, not only in these two items, and in fact, I would like to tell you that in all the bogie items, especially those which are RDSO controlled, also those are basically we have tried to ensure that not only this pin, even the second lock is having around 5 to 6 mm small, 10 mm pin. Second lock is used. There also we have clearly mentioned that the marking has to be done. Each and every item should have clear-cut marking and date and year of manufacturing, so that traceability of the material is there. This is not only, this is the one of the best way to maintain the quality, because what happens if you don't allow or don't insist upon this, the firm will have only responsibility to make sure that item is reached to your premise, and then you forget, you will never able to trace back from where you have received this item. So make sure that each and every item is having clear-cut marking scheme. Then we have clearly mentioned in the drawings. Similarly, in the case of split pin, there was one of the major issue which we had told or raised by the railways that split pins very difficult to insert, very and very prone to theft also. Yes, this is one of the item. So for that we have alternatively give a provision for fitment of spring cotton. Okay, I'll show you. This is like that. The spring cotton. Okay. So this is we have clear cut specification of this item has been mentioned in the drawing, and specification is also indicated in the drawing. Follow those instructions and specification to purchase this item. Zinc plated has now been made as a mandatory, so that the rust and other aspect can be. Then improvement in the center pivot liner. Center both horizontal and vertical liner. This material has clearly been now mentioned. Marking on this liners has made mandatory, and wear limit has now been defined. Now we'll talk about what are those. This sir has what said. I'll talk about those aspects here now. Now, how to maintain the center pivot both top and bottom, spherical type, and top and bottom flat type. For that, we have issued a detailed instruction, and in the last two itself. And I hope some of you must have seen that. If not, we will share with you in this workshop also. And again, all these instructions are being made as a part of the G95. One confusion or the concern of the railway is that, sir, you have a lot of instruction here and there. How one can come to know that which instruction is there, which should be followed, when to be followed? That's a very valid question. So to cater those things, we have started maintaining a practice that each instruction, each item should have one technical bulletin. Either G95 you must say for bogie, or G112 you can say for LWLS in LCCF bogie, G115 for side bearer, like that. So, and whenever any instruction is issued, that should be made as a part of those technical bulletins. Okay. So all these instructions will be are under consideration or are being incorporated in this document. And once this document is finalized, you need not to refer any other document as such for that item. Okay, so let us understand the maintenance that what we have covered in this document for maintaining the service.
See, we are now on a digital platform. I personally feel you should correct, you should only make one document and then issue it. Then multiplicity of documents then you issue manuals, then you issue correction slips.
Yeah.
Over and above, you issue instructions. Now, it is very difficult to connect. And now what it takes is that you correct the same document in a table.
No, exactly, sir. Same line.
Today I
Same
follow
line.
from your website or your document and use it to.
It
Now
should be
it is
there.
very difficult to connect and connect. So now everybody is downloading it from the websites. Why should you take one document? You make manual, then in manual you refer 20 more documents. Then you revise those documents. So it takes a lot of energy for the users to connect to your several instructions. And there's no one unified instruction available to them. Even if it becomes permanent,
Yes, yes, true, sir. I agree, completely agree with you, sir. And in fact, just to assure you, we are working on a similar direction, what you have said. On a similar direction, that each item should have a one document and it should incorporate each and every instruction
in that
being
document,
issued.
and you open that.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
exactly.
only thing today, suppose on today, 15, I have downloaded on 15th and read it. So if I download it on 18th, I again download it or see from your website, then only I follow. In this situation, it is very, because it's user need to connect. I was reading today morning, 18 months, we need a die at ROH periodicity. Little later I realized there's a correction slip to the manual, which says again 12 months.
No, no.
This is how it makes
It should be,
very
yeah.
difficult. So you continue to modify your base document and that document is dated. So it is not frozen in time that once you download it, maybe 15 months back and it won't go to it. If you want to follow it today, you go to the website, download it, refer it and then do it.
Yes, sir. Good, sir.
That
Yes, sir.
should be right today.
Sir. In fact, just to add to what sir said, that exactly we are doing on a similar line, that each instruction or the item should have a unique technical template and it should constitute each and every instruction issue for that item. Not only that, you should have a correction slip whenever you are doing any modification or additions to that item. And again, and also we are putting all these documents on RDSO website. So that is also started. Yes, it may not be updated, but what sir has said, it should be whatever documents we are putting on RDSO website or wherever it is earmarked should be updated and should be latest. So that is being done, sir. It will happen very soon. Now, just I will briefly talk about, I will not go into much in detail of this maintenance section because you can follow the 395 or technical bulletin, that's what we have issued. But just to highlight, for two cases, one is for spherical maintenance of spherical center pivot during harvest, and another is for maintenance of flat center pivot during harvest. In a similar line, PUH, you can refer the same document. Okay. So what is to be done? For example, if you get a wagon fitted with a spherical center pivot, you must understand that what is the wagon and which type of center pivot is fitted. You should have understanding of drying, which drying is to be referred, number one. Then of course you should clean, and after cleaning, thorough cleaning, if you have any susceptible area like you feel that it is giving a symptom of sort of a crack or some irregularities, then for confirmation you can carry out a DPT or MPI. Okay. Once it is completed, then these center pivots, both top and bottom, in fact bottoms are welded around the periphery. So you may check the condition of those welding. And once it is done, this is all our visual examination. Okay, and that is to be done during ROH I'm talking about. Once it is completed, then you have to see for wear limit. And I am just informing you that for center pivot, we have made all the gauges. In fact, for all type of center pivot, all the gauges are now being frozen and it has been finalized and it is part of this document. You can directly refer to those gauges and follow them. Okay, and it is mentioned in that document. And in fact, not mentioned, it is a part of those documents. It has been enclosed into that document. Okay, so that is one of the big exercise that what we have done. Like we have around 4-5 types of center pivots, and top to bottom, if you will take together, it will be 8 types.
So you have I mean 6 type, and then for each you have 1 gauge. Understand? So now how to measure the what are the measurement you have to take for a spherical type center pivot bottom? The vertical wear limit of bowl is 4 mm and wear limit in the radial direction is 4. So, and earlier, what used to be done, or what we have communicated, or we have informed you to be done, is that you have to, in case of spherical center pivot, you have to measure the, what you say, this vertical wear, correct? That you must be doing, and another is this horizontal wear. Okay, that you all are doing, isn't it? And for that we have a standard gauge. So now we have introduced one more profile, that is the profile gauge measurement. It is very important, and that has come up from our past. I mean, with some few case study or some what you say derived studies or some failure studies that we have investigated. That in most of the cases, this limit is within the limit. That is horizontal wear limit. Vertical wear limit is also within the limit, but along the profile there are a lot of dents, and that is not being measured, and it is not because you are not measuring, it is not being instructed to be done. So that is not being made as a part of that document, because what happens, it may result into improper meeting of top and bottom. There is, and that may result into what you say improper functioning of the center pivot top and bottom assembly. Okay, so this is one aspect that we have introduced, and for all the wear limit is 4. How it is to be done, with what gauges it is to be done, it is mentioned in the document. Okay. Now, so these are the wear limit we have, and what are the gauges we have finalized? We have actually checked them through either a workshop or through some demo with some clear-cut demonstration that yes, it is working. So here, what you have to done for a, let us say, horizontal wear, you have to insert a 4 mm seam, 7 mm seam, because 3 mm clearance is already there during the manufacturing itself, because you need to have some clearance. And 4 mm wear, so total 7 mm seam should not pass. If 7 mm seam is passing, it means it has crossed the limit. Similarly here, 4 mm seam should not pass, and in the profile also 4 mm seam should not pass. Earlier there used to be an instruction that once these center pivots exceed the limit, you can undertake the repair. That is now completely prohibited. Please don't do any repair, because that is all leading to what you say issue with the functioning of this type of center pivot. So whenever they cross the limit, you condemn it. You have the authority of RDSO saying that it has crossed the limit, you just discard it. Don't go for any maintenance like filling the dent area by bed repair and all that. Don't do this. Again, for the top center pivot, there was no any gauge earlier. We have recommended we have one gauge like this. This can be used to measure the wear limit of the center pivot top in position of wagon. You need not to remove this from the wagon body. So in position you can measure the wear limit. For this also the limit is 3 mm and 3 profile are to be checked. One is the horizontal and another is vertical. Okay, this profile and this. It should not 3 mm seam should not pass. So once it passes this test with the help of your gauge, then you can go for examination and attention of fasteners, which is fitted in the the center pivot for fastening the center pivot top and bottom. Just check it visually. You need not to do any test. And again, if it is okay, then go for examining attention of condition of center pivot assembly. So here you mean second lock, second lock, lock pin, washer, safety lock, everything you have to check that whether it is in good condition, there is no dent mark in the center pivot till the lock pin is okay, everything is okay, just a condition basis, okay. But again, I will request whenever you have this item, just check whether it is conforming to our latest specification or not. If not, at least if you cannot change it immediately. Try to place the demand of that item and get it replaced at the next stage. Why? Because it is quite possible that these items are not forced manufactured with the forged material or having improper what you say dimensions or not clear cut marking. So see those things during the maintenance. Then before you lower, now everything is checked, maintained. Before you lower the center pivot, I mean the body on the bogie, you have to maintain all these things. And one important thing is the lubrication of the center pivot, spherical center pivot bottom. Okay. So while doing the lubrication, you can use both graphite powder or molybdenum disulfide base. Both are recommended. However, we have in this document we have mentioned that molybdenum disulfide base is recommended over graphite powder because for two reasons. We have in one or two cases what we have observed that the graphite powder is provided, but it is not uniformly spreaded over the center pivot bowl. And what happens? It has spreaded, and after some time, maybe 1 hour, 2 hour later, you put the center pivot, the lower the body, and during the movement and all those, what happens? It will have tendency to accumulate at the bottom, and this is very dangerous. I'm telling you, this is very dangerous. What will happen? If it will accumulate at the bottom, it will result into lifting of the center pivot top and with the bottom to the distance which is the packing formed by the graphite powder. Okay. So so till you lower and ensure that this accumulation is not being there. However, you have one way of cross checking is to measure the distance of center pivot top and bottom. That is 120. That you have to do mandatorily. It is a mandatory. But if you check it, you will find some deviation. So to avoid that, you either use disulfide or ensure that very fine. What happens? Sometimes railway doesn't provide this, but sometimes and again some trials happens and it is being found that this center pivot had some issue because of non-availability of graphite powder. Then railway become overactive and it starts doing more than what is required. So this is not required. Over and under way is not recommended. Okay, so make sure that you use proper, and again you can get cross-check this graphite powder. I am a complete belief that whatever graphite powders are being provided, most of them will not conform to this IS. You can cross them. You just put it, send it. Don't depend upon the store or whatever the purchaser you have provided to you. Just have just get it. Don't stop the vehicle. Okay, but put it into this year. Why this has happened? Because it is not a DSO inspection because somebody has inspected. Maybe consign inspection. See, those checks are being done. Once it is done, then you have to see correct and securing arrangement CP pin, top, bottom, CP pin, washer, cycle lock, locking, etc. And after that, yes, one thing that we have recommended that CP washer and split pin is mandatorily replaced during RH. So no confusion. You can lay your AC accordingly and ensure that washer is replaced whenever it comes for RH. Okay, and while fitting the washer, make sure that rubber part is facing upward. And again, mixing of center pivot flat and center pivot spherical is not allowed, is not permitted. So this is all about with respect to maintenance of center pivot flat spherical type. Now I'll just briefly talk about maintenance of flat center pivot assembly. Again, on a similar line, you have to examine the center pivot top and bottom castings, examine the welding conditions, and for measurement of wear limit, here it is quite different. And here you, since it is these flat center pivots are provided with the liners, so whenever it crosses the limit, you have to just remove the liner and replace it by the new liner. Okay. And here the wear limit for horizontal liner is 3 mm and wear limit for vertical liner is again 3 mm. This is the vertical wear limit, just check it. And again, in a similar line, what you what we have recommended for in case of spherical type, and this is the horizontal wear limit of the liner, and the vertical is here. You can check it here. In case of any limit crossing the any wear crossing the limits, you have to cut the welding, remove the titan liner, and put it new liner. Okay. And on a similar line, flat center pivot, it is not provided with any liner. So here and since it is a hardened, so this wear limit is very less, that is 2 mm. So check these limits, these wears are within the limit or not. Okay, on a similar line, horizontal wear, vertical wear, and we have clear cut provided gauges, what gauges to be followed, how it is to be followed, isn't it? So you can refer those gauges.
Whether it is to be limited or we have full.
Sir, we have basically provided riveting, but it can be also hug welded. But what this top can be,
What are they doing?
yeah, I mean, I think most of you are doing hug welding. Bottom, there is some issue of doing hug welding is that there was one understanding that it may during the curving, because then in that case the height, I mean both the center pivot top and bottom bolts may come in contact.
No, sir.
I mean, some of the views were there. So there we have kept optional, but here we have recommended you to follow hug welding, and it is better in fact. So if you are following the hug welding, you go ahead with that. We have recommended this also. So this is this thing. Now this is again in a similar line. You can follow here. Don't require to provide any sort of grease or graphite powder. Not required because liner itself has a lubrication property. So this flat type center pivot doesn't require any greasing or lubrication. You can do directly. Okay, children will look at this. And in a similar line, you have to do the assembly checking before you lower the things. Here is just a glance to for you, and it is given in the document also, and we will put into this G95. Then here you can see that what is the drive number. These are the various type of center pivot drives. That is SCUP के लिए कौन सा हम लोग ड्राइव फॉलो कर रहे हैं, LCCM के लिए कौन सा है, LWD के लिए कौन सा है, ठीक है. Then what are the gauges? Now you can see WD gauges. WD का मतलब है you must be seeing two type of drive from ISO. One is WD drive. WX is for some purpose. कि भाई एक किसी इशू के लिए ड्राइव हमने इशू कर दिया and it is serving the purpose and it is free. But WD means it will part of the RDSO drive list what is being maintained, and it will keep on changing whenever change is required. So, sir, just in 5 minutes. Okay, so this is the gauge that is to be followed. Okay, again I will say just have a reference of these gauges. Just give your opinion to our people or to me or to ISO that what is your understanding about these gauges. If you have any better suggestions, you please come forward. Because see, I cannot believe that so far nobody is following any maintenance or any measurement. You must be following some protocols. But now we want to make it a part of a guideline and standardize it for everybody. So if you have any better practices, you can let us know. Just have a look of these gauges and see if you have any suggestions, so that this, when we finalize the G95, these are being well incorporated. Then vertical wear limit की सबकी बता रखी है क्या क्या होगा, horizontal limit कब करना है, ROH में आपको क्या करना है, and POH में आपको क्या करना है. ROH में आपको 100% गेजिंग करनी है और कंडीशन के बेसिस पे इनको रिप्लेस करना है. सेंटर पिवट टॉप और सेंटर को कोई मेंटेनेंस नहीं है, अगर उसमें लिमिट बाहर है तो उसको रिप्लेस करना है. बीओच में आपको सेंटर पिवट बॉटम को पूरी तरीके से डिसेंबल करना है, उसको थॉरो एग्जामिन करना है, लाइनर्स को पूरा रिप्लेस करना है, मैंडेटरी है। सेंटर पिवट ड्यूरिंग पीयूएच ऑल टाइप ऑफ लाइनर टू बी रिप्लेस रिन्यू, ठीक है। और इस पे और टॉप में उसको ग्राउंड करना है, उसको डिसमेंटल करना है, थॉरोली एग्जामिन करना है, एंड देन यू हैव टू रीफिट। So ठीक है, अभी so before we go for improvement measure for a side layer, we can have a short break. I think you must have been tired also. So एक चाय वाला ले लीजिए and maybe in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes we can gather again assemble here, and probably I will take another 10 to maximum 15 minutes to cover my presentation, and then followed by that we will have a discussion. Okay, so thank you.
AE and SSC, that is on the rear side, and for the officers, this at the inside.
Live on Google, YouTube. बंद कर दिए।